Yes, we're live. We're live. Hey, guys, it's Old Man G here, back again with another 100% Manchester United podcast. I'm joined again by Shane beneath me.
Yes, indeed. How's it going, guys?
And Kieran to the right of me.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Really great to be on. Always a pleasure.
Both from Red Devil Weekly and United Man. Draco is not here with us this week, but hopefully with us next week. Sorry. Shout out to these guys. The links to their channels are in the description, so please go and subscribe to Red Devil Weekly, to the United Man, and to Draco Revolve, and give them your much needed support. But we're going to go straight into it and basically talk about Bruno Fernandes. And what can Bruno Fernandes, just get the picture up, what can Bruno Fernandes actually offer to Manchester United? So I think everyone should be able to see that now. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Bruno Fernandes, obviously long since been confirmed. Very happy about that signing. It's a long signing coming. So I'm just going to get straight to it rather than just talking. I'll start with Shane first. What do you think that Bruno Fernandes can actually offer to Manchester United now?
I think ultimately, depending on how he does, he could be a saving grace to some way, even to Paul Pogba. So, for example, he comes in and makes, I suppose, scores 10 goals and 10 assists, contributes to 20 goals over the remainder of the season. So that straight away it takes off the pressure of Paul Pogba with regards to the whole creativity. Now, also, if he then starts to show out in that kind of way, then other players, what I realize is that good players want to play with good players. So he shows out, that then helps actually attract other players to Manchester United, because realistically now, if you look for our whole squad, we've got Wan-Bissaka, we've got Harry Maguire, but obviously Daniel James is still a bit of a project. Rashford, he's still only 21, but he was on course for 30 goals this season. But realistically, you're looking around the rest of the Man United team and people are thinking, well, why would I go and play with Man United? But if this guy shows out and then does well, as I believe he will, it attracts other players to Manchester United, which is one of the most important things. And hopefully it does it helps Pogba towards making a U-turn, and ultimately him being consistent, because let's be honest, the fact that Pogba hasn't had anyone great to play with alongside him has contributed towards his lack of consistency. Whereas with Juventus and France, he's had quality players around him and he's consistently performing well. So Bruno Fernandes arriving, ultimately, I feel like obviously he will ultimately be a deciding factor on whether or not Paul Pogba goes, if he shows out to what he can be. Cut his 30 goals in half, that's 15. Cut his assist in half, that's 10. So hopefully, he contributes to us keeping Pogba and bringing in more players in the summer.
Cool. Okay, I think that's a very good summary. Definitely very good. Kieran, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Shane said there. I think, first off, I didn't think it was going to happen. To be honest with you, I didn't think we were going to sign anyone this window. So the fact we brought him in is just really kind of, in some ways, reassuring that we can actually, make a potential push for the top four this season. And I think if he does play like he did in the Portuguese league, obviously it's going to take time for him to bed into the Premier League, because I think the Premier League is a lot faster and probably a lot more physical than the Portuguese league, even though I haven't watched the Portuguese league too much, but I'm just assuming. I just think that if he can contribute to goals and assists in the same sort of way he does for Sporting Lisbon, I think we can make a really good crack at top four. And also, as Shane was saying, good players want to play with good players, and Bruno Fernandes being in that midfield could help Paul Pogba to stay. The only thing that makes me think that potentially this transfer might have a negative effect on the Paul Pogba thing is that maybe they're looking at Bruno Fernandes as a potential Paul Pogba replacement. Maybe they've already talked to Paul Pogba and he's made it clear that he doesn't want to be here. So if they've decided to bring in Bruno Fernandes, it could spell the end for Paul Pogba. But I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping I'm just kind of making it up. And if we could see Pogba and Bruno Fernandes playing together, and have someone like McTominay or Fred beside them doing a bit more of the defensive work, then I think we'll start to create a lot more chances, but they will lead to goals because whilst I still think we need a striker, the more chances you create, the more goals you're likely to score, and the better service into the likes of Martial and Greenwood, I think we'll be all right. So I'm looking forward to seeing Fernandes play against Wolves, and I think he can really add a lot to this team.
No, fair enough. I mean, I think I agree with both of you. I mean, again, getting obviously a midfielder for Manchester is a long thing coming. I mean, I think the only negative thing I have about the whole process is that, I saw some of Ollie's comments saying, about difficulties getting transferred in January, right price, all the rest of it. In my mind, I'm like, at the end of the day, we ended up just, from what I can tell, paying what Sporting Lisbon wanted us to pay. So the question is, why don't we do that in the summer?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, in the summer, I think Pogba and McTominay were fit, but, a part of me is just like, there's no reason why we couldn't have got this deal in the summer. And
absolutely.
Your question is thinking that, what almost could have been, I don't think if we signed Bruno Fernandes in summer that would suddenly be challenging for the title. But certainly maybe we could certainly be in a much more comfortable position in the top four, given what Bruno Fernandes can offer, than had he not come in the first place. As well as the fact that, I think Bruno Fernandes is going to be a good player, but I also need to think about the idea that he's still coming from a different league. He needs time to adapt, to fit in. And unlike in the summer when you can have a good pre-season, get a time, know your teammates, gel, etc. He's now coming in January, like halfway through a season, where United are frankly in crisis because we don't have midfield. We're chasing top four. And so there's going to be a lot of pressure, I think, put on him. I think if he doesn't start and with the ground running, I'm just hoping that people will continue to sort of, support him, back him, etc. Because he's coming into Manchester United side that's not the best side, it's been, if it makes sense.
Yeah, that does.
Yeah, I think ultimately, when any high-profile player signs to Manchester United, they're going to have a lot of pressure on them. I mean, even as soon as we signed him, you've got rival fans kind of saying things about it. So obviously, when a player like that comes into Manchester United, he's going to have a lot of pressure from the get-go. But I think the fans will fall. Well, I think the fans will definitely afford him time. I mean, I certainly will. Obviously, coming from the Portuguese league, we've had a good record from signing players from Sporting. So I think ultimately we're going to afford him the time. And if he can, as I said, if he can have the same effect as he did on Sporting Lisbon on us, I think we're in for he'll give us a lot going forward.
I think obviously what you raised the point there, where obviously hopefully everyone doesn't get carried away. I think it's a good point, and give him time. Appreciate that it will take time. Ultimately, I think what we can't forget, well, we shouldn't forget, is the fact that we've never had the opportunity this season to actually play our full strength team, whatever that may have been. This season, we've just not been able to do that due to injuries. Now, if you think over the course of the next 2 months, obviously taking us towards the end of March, but which doesn't leave a lot of the season after that. But you still got Eric Bailly, who's now fit in training in the first team. McTominay is due to come back end of Feb latest. Same goes for Pogba, and then you've got Rashford towards maybe April time. I don't know, but yeah, that's 4 huge players: Bailly, McTominay, Rashford, and Pogba coming back into your starting lineup potentially. Obviously Rashford and Pogba definitely coming in. I think Bailly needs to get a look in as well, because Lindelof, for me, has just not been what we need next to Maguire, realistically.
Okay. I mean, I would only disagree with you, and that I think that Maguire, I guess, I don't know, my opinion is the opposite. I feel like, I'm not saying Lindelof is a bad defender, but I guess maybe because of the price tag of Maguire, and I mean, the most recent example being what happened against, was it City? Was it the City? No, it was Burnley. Yes, it was the
Yeah,
bird.
Burnley it was. Yeah, Burnley it was.
Rasmus A, shout out to you. Good to see you in chat, buddy. Certainly for the first goal, possibly even the second in terms of positioning. I sort of expect more, especially given his price tag and also the fact that he's the captain of Manchester United now. So, and as well as the fact that Lindelof, when he was playing with Smalling last season, seemed to be okay. So and even Lindelof when he played with Bailly last season was okay. So
I'll tell you what we missed then is aerial presence. So when Lindelof was playing with Bailly, we missed that aerial dominance. That's what Harry Maguire brings to me, and a bit of calm sometimes. But then he makes silly mistakes every now and then where you're like, that was just out of nowhere. Like it was against City where he got the ball under control. He was closer to David De Gea. He's tried to square it, and then obviously you're thinking, oh, this is City goal, and then they managed to mess it up somehow. But you're just thinking, there's moments like that. And then there's moments where Raheem Sterling's running away, where you're thinking Raheem Sterling's going to run away from him, and he sort of kept pace with him and then slid with his wrong foot, with his left foot, and made a goal-saving challenge. So he's just, I don't know, sometimes, I don't want to say Jekyll and Hyde, but I know what you're saying, though, G, for real, because he, like I say, he's club captain now, man. So you've got to be 7 out of 10 or better every week.
No, exactly. Just before I move on, so as I said, just everyone's watching, it's going to be a slightly shorter podcast this week. Where do you think that Ollie is actually going to play? Because Raymond makes a good point. Where is Ollie actually going to play Bruno Fernandes? Because as everyone knows, I think Matic is actually even suspended for the game against Wolves, which is interesting. Rasmus actually says, what do you think of Ollie's comments that he might stick to a 5 at the back? I myself absolutely hate it. So I guess that's the same kind of question to Shane and then Kieran.
Well, personally, I think, 5 at the back for me it's not my favourite formation. Obviously, you played it against Man City, and in some ways, it kind of invites pressure. And as we saw, our defenders, as Harry Maguire demonstrated, whilst it's great to kind of attempt to play out from the back sometimes, and if you've got good skill on the ball, which ordinarily Maguire and Lindelof should have, it's great to do that. But it's when you're kind of inviting on pressure with a 5 at the back, it's difficult, and we have made mistakes. I think maybe he's done that because this season, defensively, we haven't been brilliant overall. Obviously, set pieces is a big issue, and we're just defensively we're not as solid as we were. Even under Jose Mourinho's second season, we had probably the best defensive record in the league, and we've kind of lost our way defensively a bit, even though we have strengthened there. In terms of where I think Bruno Fernandes might play, I think that he'll probably. Well, I feel like he's definitely going to be the midfielder that goes further forward, that joins the attacks. I think if we don't use him like that, then it's just a waste, to be honest with you, because whilst of what I've heard and people say about him, he can do both attacking and defending and add a lot of energy both ways. I think he should be our furthest forward midfielder, creating the chances, and I think he'll probably stick with the same formation. I don't see him changing the way he played, especially after we kind of got the 1-0 win. I think he'll see that as kind of almost progress in a way. So I don't see us changing that formation. And I think he'll probably just swap Bruno Fernandes out with one of our midfielders and play him like that. But I think it would be a bit of a waste if we did see him kind of. He can be a box to box, of course, but I feel like if he should be more attacking, because that's where he can hurt the teams. That's obviously where that's why he's got the goals and the assists he has, because he's had the freedom to go forward. So hopefully that's the way Ollie plays him.
Fair enough. What do you think, Shay?
Ultimately, Ollie does strange things, so I don't really want to commit on this one, but like he likes for me, he likes 2 negative formations. They're 3-5-2. I understand where he plays against Liverpool and City. But 2, it berates me when he plays 2 holding midfielders, against all the rest of the other teams where he's showing them way too much respect. We don't have that type of personnel to actually be able to do both roles, be defensively solid and pick a pass going forwards. You know, Michael Carrick would have been really, really best suited to that back in the day, but obviously his time's said and done. But for me, if Ollie does play that two holding midfielder thing, then as Kieran said, you got to play him as that main attacking central midfielder. But to me, that still leaves a gap until Pogba gets back, because there's no link man then ultimately. And McTominay's got the energy, but technical ability he doesn't have. So yeah, I echo what Kieran said really, and that's the fact that Bruno Fernandes, you're going to take away from what he can give to us if you put him in the central midfield position as opposed to a number 10 as the main creator role. You take that off Pogba when he comes back as well. You're giving that to him now, because ultimately I feel like that's where he has to play the main creative threat from midfield.
Okay, fair enough. Right. Okay. So moving on from Bruno Fernandes, but I guess a key topic, and this is basically just, can Manchester United, can we basically get top four? Just get it up. So, because obviously we signed Bruno Fernandes now, we have at least, sorry, 2 seconds.
No worries.
There we go. That's right. It's just a picture of Ollie. But anyway, it's just literally just a picture of Ollie, just so we would see. But
is that him waving top 5 goodbye? Top 4 goodbye at the moment? Is he? It's nice knowing you, boys.
It could be interpreted that way, man. Seriously, because yes, we've signed Bruno Fernandes. We're 6 points, obviously, from Chelsea, thanks to that Burnley loss. Even though they dropped, but Chelsea will be playing Leicester away.
Yeah.
Week. We have Wolves at home. Can we get top 4 now? And if so, does Ollie stay in the job?
Go on, Kieran.
Well, for me, I think what the amount of opportunity we've had already this season to close that gap and that we haven't taken is infuriating. But it gives me hope that we'll have more chances. I think, especially with Bruno Fernandes coming in, I think that is going to help us going forward. Hopefully, as well, with people coming back from injury, obviously Bailly's coming back, that'll give us a bit more strength and depth in terms of defence. Obviously, we've got McTominay, Rashford, Pogba, these sort of players to come back as well. So it's all about timing, really. If we start hitting, a bit of form, and then we see, those sort of players come back, we can finish strong towards the end of the season. If we kind of hit a rough patch towards the end of the season, then I think it's going to be difficult. But it's all about really, the timing of your momentum. And right now, we're only 6 points only 6 points off top 4.
Yeah, somehow, yeah.
Yeah, it's mental. It just shows, the quality of the league this season hasn't been up to it. And but obviously, I wouldn't say we're in a good position, but we're in a position where we could potentially, make a charge to top 4. Obviously, you've got the likes of Wolves and Sheffield United who are behind us, who aren't too far behind us. I think actually Wolves might be level on points with us. I'm not too sure, but I think they might be. So there are other teams in and around us that might be looking at that top 4 spot as well. But yeah, it's just about, whether we can, create momentum or not. And hopefully as well, Chelsea will present more opportunities for us to catch up. And I think they will, because they've been up and down this season. But at the same time, whilst we might have, good patches, I think, it'd be naive to think that we're not going to have another dip in form before the end of the season. So I think it's all about when those sort of things happen, and hopefully we get fortunate and, it happens. It all goes right for us, and we take the opportunities to close the gap. But I think we can get top 4. But as I said, it's going to be, a bit of luck involved as well, and we're going to have to try and, obviously play to the best of our ability and just hope for the best.
Yeah.
Shane, what do you think?
I think what your first point, Kieran, with regards to the inconsistencies being infuriating, I think that's that and Rashford being injured is, I believe, the main reason why we won't get top 4. Unfortunately, Bruno Fernandes on his own is a massive step in the right direction, but without Pogba right now, McTominay and Rashford, I just feel like it's going to be too much. And what I don't want to do, to your point, G, is people put pressure on Bruno Fernandes because of it. Because you know, as Akira mentioned earlier, there's you know, well, there's been no preseason, as you said as well, G. There's no preseason. He's coming in cold, as it were. He's going to have to find his feet. But you know, and you just hope he doesn't lose confidence because of it. But yeah, mainly those two reasons. I don't feel like the inconsistencies and the fact that we're missing Rashford as well, and Martial hasn't been on form. I feel like we miss out because of that. And if we make it, it's a miracle. I really do think you know we'll miss out this season, unfortunately.
Fair enough. Yeah, you know, I think I'm in between both of you guys because I certainly see both points of view. You know, so I mean, I think the inconsistency behind Manchester United and the fact that we really don't have I believe, a style of, well, we have a style of play, but it's not a good style of play at the end of the day. And our inability to make good coaching decisions, not believing that one player will suddenly magically change that, I don't necessarily think will be the case. So I agree. The only hope really is just hoping that, you know, likes of Pogba, likes of McTominay, our injuries that we do, these seem to, it does come back. And also the fact that we're still in the Europa League. I guess the question is, do we have a strong enough team? Because with Bruno Fernandes giving us the added squad depth, you know, do we have, at some point, I believe we need to make a decision, whether we push for top four, or whether we focus on the Europa League. Just like Mourinho did, I think, a few years ago. He decided to choose the Europa League, he won it, and then focus on that and just threw away the league. That's what we need to decide at some point. Right now, I still think it's probably easier to get top four, just because Chelsea are becoming a bit considerably more inconsistent. I don't expect Spurs or Arsenal to give us any problems in that respect. And we still have to play Chelsea. I think that's 2 weeks from now. So if we beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, which is possible, then and we win against Wolves, assuming Chelsea, then we'll be 3 points, you know, close to them, you know, and Chelsea still have to play the likes of Liverpool and City and stuff like that again. So I think that's probably easier than, you know, some of the teams in the Europa League like Ajax and Salzburg, I think, are in. Inter Milan, I think, are there as well. You know, there are a few. Arsenal obviously still in it. Wolves are still in it. So I think, yeah, that's as George B says, you know, we're 6 points from fourth though, but 4 points from 15th.
That's a good point.
If we lose 2 games, then we're in trouble.
It's true. It's very true, and that's that. Like Kieran said, that's how, you know, it shows obscure the league is this year, and in terms of their quality or their lack of, it's just unpredictable, really unpredictable.
James Gregg, for somebody, says, is it safe to get Chinese takeaway tonight, or is it too risky? Okay. You're probably okay. You're probably fine. You're okay.
That's funny. That's funny.
It's transmitted via the air, not through the food, man. So you're all right. Right, let's quickly go to our last topic, actually. Sorry that this was a quick stream. So so United are obviously playing Wolves. United are playing Wolves at it's 5:30 tomorrow, isn't it? If I recall, the kickoff. I mean, Wolves seem to be quite a bit of a bogey team, to be honest. We don't really seem to be able to. Yes, okay, we beat them. The last game we beat them actually, just to knock them out of the FA Cup. Although that was quite a drawn out 1-0 drawn, to be honest. If they'd taken their chances, they could have beaten us. I guess the last questions will be, how do you think, given what we know going into this game, Solskjaer will set up? Who do you think should play? And then finally, what is your score prediction?
Well, I'll take the reins here. I think. I feel like, you know, against Wolves, as you said rightly, they are a bogey team. I actually think that in the past kind of 4 or 5 times we played Wolves, since Wolves have got promoted back to the Premier League, I can't think of a game where we've actually played really well against them. I can't think of a game where we were maybe unlucky to lose. Obviously, the game in the league early in the season, we missed that penalty, but at the same time, it wasn't as if we were dominating Wolves. It wasn't as if we were all over them and they got lucky to come away with a draw. They're a very difficult side to beat, and even in the cup game, we won 1-0, but that game both sides didn't play brilliantly. Again, it was a fortunate victory for us. And I just, in terms of how we're going to set up, I think we probably won't make too many changes. I think, obviously, the big story is going to be whether Bruno Fernandes starts or he starts on the bench. And I think it's a difficult one. Obviously, it'd be great to see him start, but I feel like Solskjaer might look at starting him from the bench, especially because he's only just come over. He's only just flown over in the last few days. Only come into this game with one training session. He's not, as Shane was saying, he's coming into this cold, and it's not like he's had loads and loads of games to kind of prepare for this and loads of training sessions. So I think he'll probably start from the bench. The only thing which could, obviously Matic is suspended for this, I think, so that might change his thinking. But ultimately, I don't think Bruno Fernandes is going to start. I might be wrong, but I do see him going with the same formation. I think he's probably going to try and stick with that formation. And obviously, a lot of United fans aren't going to be happy with that. But Solskjaer seems to be the kind of guy where if he has something, then he usually sticks with it with a decent period of time, and then he might look at changing. So I think we'll probably stick with the 5 at the back. And the only thing we might see in a change is potential for Daniel James to start ahead of Mason Greenwood. I personally would want to see Greenwood and Martial. I think in terms of their quality in front of goal, I think they've got more than Daniel James has. Even though Daniel James can create chances, I think that what we've seen from Greenwood in terms of his finishing is in some, probably right now is better than what Martial's shown, because Martial hasn't really, been up to it as, in the kind of last few weeks or even probably this month, you could say. So I think we'll set up a similar way, and I think Wolves will fancy their chances of getting something. The only thing I think will be against them is obviously there's going to be a bit of a better mood around the stadium. Obviously, with Bruno Fernandes coming in and the potential to see him play, there'll be a bit of a buzz around. So I think that'll kind of help us kind of come through. And it's a hard one to call. It's a really hard one to call. I'm gonna say we'll win the game. I think but again, I don't think it'll be a convincing victory. I think maybe a 2-1 victory to Manchester United, and that's my prediction. But as I said, it's very hard to predict United. We're very inconsistent, as you know. So yeah, it's hard to predict. But if I was, I'd probably go with 2-1.
Fair enough. What about you, Shane?
Well, as our season's been going, as Kieran alluded to, it's very up and down, and we're normally too good, too bad. Obviously, we've just had, technically speaking, 2 victories in terms of the game, and we've not conceded a goal in those last 2 games either. So we're at home, so this is where Ollie seems to get it tactically wrong, because at away he'll try and play a specific type of football with a specific type of formation to match that type of football, whereas when we're at home, it's like he kind of feels like we need to go in, try and typically dominate the game how we used to. So I think that works against him. And a team like Wolves, who are tactically astute, they're a team as well. They're a very good unit. They're not a team full of individuals. So I think that's where Ollie always goes wrong against Wolves. He underestimates them, I think, and doesn't see them as a good side. But Wolves are, make no mistake about it, they are a very good team. So I want to say a 2-0 win, but not if Ollie goes out and then tries to outplay them at football, because at the moment we just don't have the midfield area to do that. So, but yeah, I agree with Kieran as well. I think that Bruno Fernandes will start on the bench, but I'll go with 2-0 win.
Okay. So, and almost in summary, I think I agree with pretty much everyone here. So, I mean, the only thing I think about this that I'm cautious about this game is really that with Matic obviously now being injured, I suspect anyway that he'll probably put Bruno. If he's going to play 4-2-3-1, then I would suspect. I know people saying that Bruno Fernandes might not play, but I think he will play because we don't have any other options. Because if Matic is now suspended for this game, the only other midfielder is him, and then Ghana. There's no one else.
Don't forget about Pereira. His beloved Pereira.
So this is what I'm thinking. If he plays 4-2-3-1, then he'll probably play Fred and Fernandes in the holding positions, because at least Bruno Fernandes can defend, and then Pereira will obviously be put in the number 10 position, with possibly Daniel James on the right, Daniel James on the right, maybe Greenwood or Martial on the left, and then and whichever one of those up top, or possibly Lingard on the right if he still persists with him. So I guess what I'm saying is that, like, this weekend at the very least, you're going to get Pereira and possibly Lingard are going to be involved, which might be a huge, not ideal for a lot of people. Which is expect. Just before, but in terms of prediction, because I've got to actually head off in 2 seconds. My prediction, I'm going to give it. I think we can win it, but I suspect it's going to be like the FA Cup. It's going to be a 1-0 win. And then lastly, just this last question from Raymond Moore, just to you guys. Raymond says, does the Portuguese league have the same intensity as the Premier League? I don't know much about the league. Will Bruno be able to adapt to the EPL?
Well, I'm definitely not the right person to ask. I never watched the Portuguese league at all, so I've no idea, mate. I would assume the Premier League is a lot faster, but as I said, I don't know.
Technically, Portuguese are very good. Work rate wise, they're good. Physically, it's nowhere near the Premier League from what I've seen. Not that I watch loads, but I've just seen Sporting and Benfica and Porto play a few times. So technically, very good. But yeah, like you say, speed wise in the Premier League, physically, it's nowhere near. So, but saying that, he's been playing international football for the past couple of years, so he won't be shy of quality or the physicality. And don't forget the type of player he is. He's a flair player, so he's used to getting kicked. So yeah, he'll be fine, I think.
Fair enough. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Sorry, this is a short one, so apologies. I've literally got to head off to speak, but thank you so much for everyone who's watching. Please, and if you're watching not live, please check out the United Man, Red Devil Weekly, and Draco Roll's channel. The links are in the description. Head over to those guys and like, share, and subscribe to those channels and support them. Amazing Manchester United fan content, and I really love doing this 100% podcast with these guys. We talk a lot, and hopefully you guys enjoy what you see. So it's basically take care, everyone. That's bye from Old Man G and Kieran.
Yeah, thanks, guys. See you later.
And Shane.
Okay, take care, guys. See you in the next one.
Take care, guys. All the best and cheers.
See you later.